Welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from fresh perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 259, Prosperous Summer, Tithe. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host and I'm here today in my home studio in Orlando. And I want to be the first to welcome you to your week. What a great day we have stretched out before us. Today is a beautiful day here in sunny Orlando and I'm kicking off a 4-week series. I am totally excited about it because it is one of the things I love to talk about, and it is called Prosperous Summer. Prosperous Summer. So this is the Authentic Spiritual Journey, believe it or not, episode 259. Episode 259 is hard to believe, friends, because I remember when this podcast was a thought. It was a dream. It was an idea. It was a goal. And I can't tell you how happy and proud I am to be able to be bringing this to you nearly 5 years later that we've been on the air. Pretty amazing. And we would not be here if it were not for your support. And today I want to talk about, again, something great, something called Prosperous Summer. And there are 4 weeks to this series. Prosperous Summer begins today, June 5th, with the topic of tithing. Tithing. So some of you are about ready to switch it off because you're scared of this topic, and I want to encourage you not to. Just listen to what I have to say, and if at the end of this podcast you want to reject it, that's fine. But try to give yourself the permission to listen, to open your mind maybe to a new idea, or maybe hear something new about it you haven't heard before about how you can apply the idea of tithing and the spiritual practice and discipline of tithing into your life and world to experience financial abundance. So the next 4 weeks are going to be about how to move into greater prosperity in every aspect of our lives. So for me, prosperity is it's a loving life. For me, prosperity is having enough money to do everything I need and also save for the future. For me, prosperity is relationships that work all the time. To me, prosperity is having a beautiful home and surroundings. You know, that in general, my life feels good. It feels whole. It feels, in fact, abundant. In other words, it feels like there is enough for me. There's enough love. There's enough of what I need. I have a beautiful home that supports my lifestyle and needs. And I'm able also to help others. For me, this is a wonderful part of prosperity. So in the next 4 weeks, we're going to talk about tithing. We're going to talk about giving. We're going to talk about receiving, and we're going to also talk about what I call the success vibration, which is about moving more into joy. So I wanted to start the 4-week series about called Prosperous Summer. I wanted to start out Prosperous Summer with the topic of tithing because it's usually the most difficult for people, but I believe has the greatest power to bless your life in a financial way. And friends, without going deeply into it, what I can tell you is, just right up the top, is that tithing is a key in my financial life to abundance. It is a key in general of me being in the flow in every aspect of my life because of the way I have to trust God to practice it. Right? It takes a great deal of trust to move into tithing in a real way and begin on a regular basis to give 10% of what you earn to your place of spiritual feeding. So let me back up. If you're new to this idea, so some of you may be new to my podcast. I know we have people listening from all around the world, and I can't tell you how that touches my heart and blesses me that people are listening. But what I want you to know is everything I teach on this aspect of the channel is spiritual. Having said that, I'm just starting a new show called Conscious Business, which is also pretty exciting and a direct result of some of my recent prosperity. But let me say, what is a tithe? So what I started to say is everything on this channel, on this particular show, The Authentic Spiritual Journey, are my teachings based in the spiritual. In other words, what I'm telling you about is a combination of what the Bible says, the scriptures say, we call our holy scriptures. It's what I have practiced in my life as a result of my mentors and teachers. It's what I've learned on my own through the study and the practical application of all of the principles I've studied over the years. And one of the key principles that has guided my life is the practice of tithing. And I realized this morning, friends, if I'm talking quickly, I haven't even had much caffeine, but I got super excited because I just created a presentation that's really going to support a lot of people on intention. So I'm just still geeked about that this morning. So what is tithing? Tithing, according to the scriptures, is giving 10% of all you earn to the place of your spiritual feeding. Now, we often get spiritually fed a variety of ways, right? From a variety of places. Sometimes it's a friend, sometimes it's a family member, but probably most often it is a spiritual teacher, it is a minister, it is a guide. But what I've learned is that spiritual feeding can come from the most unlikely places. And so as the scriptures describe it, the first recorded tithe is in the book of Genesis, where Abraham gives to his spiritual teacher Melchizedek. That's the first recorded tithe, and it is in the book of Genesis. And the idea was that as he received spiritual guidance, spiritual food, in other words, some uplift for life to know what to do, it was a way of saying thank you to that spiritual teacher. It was a way of saying, thank you, I would like to receive more of what you gave me. In other words, there was an exchange of energy in the form of money. So what we know is that the Jewish people have in fact prospered for generations upon generations. And the practice of tithing is a standard practice in the Jewish life. It's a standard practice in Judaism. As a matter of fact, in Judaism today, one pays for their seat. As a matter of fact, at the high holy days, you even pay for your seat because you want to be present. You want your spiritual community, you want your temple or synagogue to be blessed. You want it to be there when you need it the most. So what's so amazing is that as you tithe and give to your place of spiritual feeding, what you're doing is, first of all, you're acknowledging all the good that you've received, right? You're saying thank you. Thank you to this person. Thank you to this organization. Thank you for having these teachings that are blessing my life. So first of all, when you give your 10%, it's simply saying thank you to the universe. Like, I am so blessed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to the universe. It's what we're doing when we give 10% of all we earn to the place of our spiritual feeding. Thank you. Nothing says thank you like a financial gift, friends. I'm telling you, I have friends and know people all around the country and frankly, even around the world because of my giving to them or their organizations. So tithing is a way to say thank you. Also, when you tithe, the unconscious message you're telling yourself is that I have enough. I have enough. As a matter of fact, not only do I have enough, now I know more is coming to me. I know more is coming to me. So every time I give 10% of all I earn to the place of my spiritual feeding, whether it's individual, whether it's organization, I am unconsciously saying to myself, yes, I have enough now. And yes, more will come to me. And that's what I'm meaning when I said earlier that tithing puts me in the flow. It's like it puts me in this flow of trust. And what I also know it does, I absolutely also know it blesses people. And I know anytime I'm giving out a blessing, I need to prepare to receive a blessing as well. I absolutely know that 100%. Anytime I give out a blessing, I'm going to be ready to receive a blessing. That's it. That's the law. That's how the law works. That is how the law works. So anytime I give my 10%, I'm saying thank you. Anytime I give my 10%, I am setting myself up to receive and also having this great trust and putting myself in the flow. Now, if tithing is new to you, what I want to say is the very first time I tithed, I did not feel, oh, I was getting myself in the flow or, oh, I'm blessing someone. I had a great deal of fear when I started really tithing, for real. Like a lot of people will tell me they tithe, but what they mean is they give financial gifts a few times a year. Tithing is sometimes a day by day, week by week, month by month process, because when you start tithing, you start getting money in on a regular basis, right? And so tithing simply becomes a practice of how you live. But when you're first doing it, it's a little nervous because you don't know how that's going to put you in the flow. You don't know consciously yet how tithing really is going to impact your life. And so you're doing it on trust, but in the back of your mind, you're going, well, why is the minister telling me to do this? Is this for the church? Is this for this? Is this for that? Well, you see, I don't have a church with walls that I'm telling you to practice this. What I'm telling you is tithing works as a way to keep you in the flow. Tithing works as a way to help you trust. Tithing works as a way to bring you into more financial abundance. Tithing is simply good for the soul and is a wonderful spiritual practice to move you closer to God. So I said, when you're tithing, you're saying, thank you to God, thank you to the universe, right? Through this person, through this organization, that you have been fed. You are saying, yes, I have enough now, and that yes, more is coming to me. So in other words, tithing says to the universe, I trust there will be more. Not only is there enough now, and I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but sometimes we need help remembering why we're doing these things. You're not only saying, yes, there's more now, but yes, I trust there will be more in the future. And friends, a person who trusts, the subtext of that, the unconscious thing under these practices is, I am loved, I am supported, I am blessed, that the universe has set up certain ways for me to prosper, for me to be at peace, for me to move forward in my journey in a meaningful way. And in fact, I can trust the promises of God in my financial practice. I can trust that as I give, I am in fact going to receive. And so the reason we tithe 10% is that that's what the word tithe actually means. That's what the word tithe actually means. Tithing means 10%. When you tithe to your place of spiritual nourishment, you are saying to the universe, thank you. You're saying to that organization, thank you. I know you're going to be here for me in the future. When you give 10%, you're saying to the universe, I have enough and I trust there will be more. In other words, I trust more will be coming my way. When you tithe, you are setting yourself up to receive and putting yourself in the flow of all good. Actually, you're activating the flow of good, especially in your financial life, but virtually in every area of your life. Tithing says, I trust that I am loved, that I am supported, that I am blessed, that I am not an island. I'm intimately connected with all that is, and that in fact, the universe loves me, the universe supports me, the universe blesses me. So again, if this is new to you, you may have to work with your mindset when you start to give on a regular basis. You may have to work with your mindset. And friends, I always come back to mindset. The book I'm working on right now is called 3 Keys to a Success Mindset. And the 3 keys are thought, belief, and action. Thought, belief, and action. 3 keys to a success mindset. And when you start to tithe, because it moves you into more trust, there's going to have to be some aspect of letting go of control. And for a lot of us, this is super, super hard to do, especially if money's tight, right? Especially if we're saying, how are we going to pay all of these bills? It seems insane to write a tithe check. It really fights logic. I've had a dear friend tell me that when she started working with me, she was scared I was going to ask her to tithe, which of course I did not. She simply chose to do it on her own. And I still hear from her a few times a year, both financially and personally, saying to me, this stuff works. So she's still amazed by how tithing works. And frankly, friends, so am I. Because it's not logical. My logical mind goes, why am I writing a check for 10% when I'm, if it's a month where I've got a lot of expenses, I'm saying, why am I actually giving away money? Well, the universe has a plan for you. The universe supports you, right? And the ego often fights this. So the ego lives in a 3rd dimension reality. Your soul lives in 4th dimensional awareness. Your soul lives in 4th dimension awareness. So think about that. Your ego or the mind is very, very limited in its perspective. The ego is always trying to protect itself. The ego is always scared of annihilation. And in fact, the full self not only includes the ego, but the soul, right? Your truest self is known at the level of the soul. So anytime you start to do a practice where you're trusting your soul more than the mind, or as we lovingly call it, the ego or the personality, the more the personality fights that because it fears annihilation. So the work of tithing, or the practice of tithing, becomes a kind of deep soul work because of how it throws you into process with your thinking. Your thinking wants to fight this spiritual practice. And how do I know? Because I fought it myself. So when I was younger, like when I was a kid, I was really involved in the church, and our minister had been talking about tithing. And I remember I went to my dad and I said, Dad, do I need to tithe? And he said, oh, honey, there's a lot of different ways to tithe. Simply think about, giving of your time. And, I did give of my time quite a bit, and I did give money back to the church. I wasn't, quote unquote, tithing because I wasn't giving 10%, but I was a regular giver. And I think my dad didn't fully know the aspect of tithing, so he didn't really encourage it. And looking back, I wish he had, because now I'm a parent, and my son, who's just turned 16, has been tithing for years, and he experiences a lot of financial abundance. At birthdays, people give him money. He has gift cards for his favorite places. He often will feel in the flow and tell me about it when he's in the flow financially, he'll say, tithing works. I just emptied my wallet at church, and then 2 weeks later, I got an unexpected gift from somebody, financial gift, from an uncle or or an aunt or a godfather or something. He will receive some unexpected gift, and they'll look at me and go, Mom, tithing works. I say, it does. It does. So, but when we're first doing it, it is actually hard to believe. When we're first doing it, it is actually hard to believe. But tithing is a key to financial abundance. It's a key to feeling in the flow. And certainly the practice of tithing activates the flow of good in your life because of how it blesses others and how it returns a gift back to you, and all the ways I'm talking about how it deals with your mindset and moves you out of the personality and ego and into trust. The trust says, I am loved, I am supported, I am blessed by the universe. The trust says, not only do I have enough, I know more is coming to me. So I really want you to have that. I really want you to have that as a knowing. I really want you to have that as an awareness that there is enough for me now and more is coming to me. I trust there will be more. So if you're afraid when you're first starting to give your 10%, my encouragement to you is to give anyway and to trust the process. Part of my practice now in my working with my physical body is doing jujitsu. And I never imagined I would love a sport like jujitsu. I didn't know a lot about it when I started it. But what I know is that the person I work with the instructor, my professor, is both a coach, he's an encourager, he stretches my limits. What I absolutely know is that I can trust the processes he gives me to move my life forward. And so as I'm giving you these principles, I am giving you these principles based on 30 years of experience, based on, 25 years probably of tithing on a regular basis and working with thousands of people around the country in their financial life, in their financial world. And tithing is a key to financial abundance. Tithing is a key. Some of the most successful people I know are tithers. They love to give and to be a part of creating the flow of good and that flow of abundance around them. I can tell you, friends, when I write a tithe check, it makes me feel rich to be able to give away that much money. It's an absolute gift to be able to tithe and to give. Now, several years ago, this is probably 10 or 12 years ago now, I was really feeling kind of stuck in my financial life, and I didn't understand it because I was tithing, I was doing my forgiveness work, I was setting goals, I was doing all those things that you are to do. And when I went into prayer about it, I really felt what happened was that I was guided to actually give more than 10%. And so you can imagine if I'd been giving 10% for years and then I get this guidance to give more, all those thoughts came up again that had come up when I first started tithing. I could not get my head around why God would want me to do that. But when I worked with it, I was like, well, what is that number? So I thought about it. I'd go on walks. I was praying about it. And, just with every step I was saying, okay, well, what's mine to do? What's my amount? And then it's like, well, why don't you give 10% of 10%? And I was like, well, that's nothing. That's only 1%, right? So I was like, well, that's just giving 11%. And then I was walking. I can't remember exactly what the billboard said. It said something like up your status or up your gift, or it was something like that. And I was like, okay, I got it, universe. It is time for me to raise how much I'm giving. So I'm I said, is this an over tithe? I don't even know what to call this. So I just started giving. Well, what happened is in the first 6 months of doing that, my salary went up. And so then I had to start giving more. So the crazy thing that I have discovered is that the universe will match whatever level of tithing you're doing with that level of income. In other words, you cannot outgive God. And I do know of stories of people that have given 50% away of their income. So I have not reached that point myself, but I often give 15%, 20%. If I get unexpected income, sometimes I give away 50%. I want to continue to remain in the flow. I want to continue to feel how I feel when I give at that level. And every time I stretch, every time if a little fear comes up again, I move through it and I give anyway. And friends, I've never been sorry I have given. Never. After I write that check or after I go online and hit donate, I always feel amazing that I'm able to do it. So searching your own heart, your own mind, your own soul, looking at what bills are yours to pay and what you have responsibilities for. I mean, you can't shirk your responsibilities. You've got to pay your bills. So the internal work becomes, how do you move into tithing and trust the process? How do you move into tithing and trust the process? In other words, in the short term, until that flow starts going, you may have to minimize other expenses. Like some people think, oh, well, I'm going to write a tithe check and money's going to fall from the skies. No, it doesn't usually happen right away. And my suggestion is to try it for a minimum of 6 months because it takes a while to change your mindset, right? But if you can stick with it, not only will it change your mindset, it will move you into so much more joy, so much more flow, and so much more financial abundance. So I'm not expecting you to give at the level I give, 11% or 15% or 25% or 50%, just depending on what comes in. But I'm never, again, going to give under 10%. I'm always going to give over 10% of whatever comes in to my life. Everything that is income is tithed on. So my hope for you in your financial life is that you're going to do some real prayer work so that you can move into more financial abundance and into this feeling of being in the flow. What we know is that every time we tithe, we are saying thank you to the universe. We are saying, yes, I have enough now. And yes, I know more is coming. In other words, I trust there will be more. When we tithe, we're saying we are loved, we are supported, we are blessed, and that the whole universe itself is literally supporting us. When we tithe, we are going to feel the flow and actually be, in fact, the activator of the flow of God, the flow of goodness in our own life, in our own world. So my hope for you, friends, as you go throughout your practice, that you begin to trust in a greater and greater way how much you're loved and supported by the universe. And that as you tithe, as you participate in this act of trust, you're going to begin to receive blessing upon blessing, both financially and otherwise, because you're trusting God and you're trusting the universe at a much greater level. So friends, I love to tithe. I love to give to the place of my spiritual feeding. I love to receive a blessing. I love to be blessed. And I love to be a bringer of that blessing to those places, to those people that feed me spiritually, that feed me emotionally, that are lifting me up, that are causing me to remember the truth of who I am. I want those things, those places, those people to be there when I need them the most. So my encouragement for you on this journey is to tithe in faith, knowing it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. So blessings on the journey, dear friends, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Many blessings.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2023 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.